one of the things that I struggled with growing up was realizing that you worked in a profession that made more money. I was in a position where I wanted to help people, and helping people doesn't make a lot of money. And which, well, at face value, doesn't make a lot of money.
Or at least going into it.
Going into it, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm grateful to realize now that there are a lot more avenues to be able to bring income that helps people.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Yeah.
And at the same time, realized that when I was growing up, I felt that seeing you work really hard, seeing you tired, seeing you like traveling and
But I'm tired?
Dude, you were always tired.
Really? I never recall complaining about being tired.
You didn't complain about being tired. You were tired though. Okay. Like, I mean, I'm smart enough at 10 to realize that if you were driving 2 hours to come pick me up and then 2 hours back, that you'd probably be tired after that.
Fair.
And if you just traveled for 3 days
Fair.
before doing that,
Fair.
you were tired.
Okay.
Right. And I didn't want to be tired like that. I value my energy. I value my time.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I really struggled with when deciding to work in a helping profession was I'm not as successful as my dad because I'm not making money. But on the flip side of that, I was like, I'm making an impact in the lives of more people, and I think that will ultimately be a success for me. But still feeling this void of insecurity around I'm not making money like my dad, so I'm not as successful or I've achieved as much. And that was an interesting tension for me that I feel like I worked through, and obviously with like we've talked about it over time, but I wanted just to hear your reflections on like what is me saying that like bring up for you, and then also like what did success feel like for you at 30 years old?
No, that's good stuff. First of all, I never knew that you had that insecurity. You realize that success for me was born out of my need to be relevant. And when I say that, I mean, going back to the childhood stuff, like, not only was my father not present, my mother wasn't present. And so when you have both your foundational, parents who essentially, you're 5 years old, you're trying to put your mind around, why don't they want me? You're either going to develop some bad trauma that's going to defeat you, or you're going to try to figure out, I'm going to show them that I'm important, that I'm worth it, right? And that's what I did, the latter. And so, I matured and realized that people do what they can do, what they're capable of doing when they do it, right? Like, it's not like my mom's or dad were bad people or whatever, but the impact it had on me was different, right? And so that's why I had to succeed in sports. I had to succeed academically. And again, I didn't think of it the same way that you were able to in terms of how do I get back? Because I always wanted to get back.
Yeah.
I thought about making money. And so that's what I ended up doing, going to business. Ironically, though, Miles, now the positions I seek in my roles are roles that give back within capitalism.
Right.
Yeah. So I work with one of the largest organizations in the world, influences multiple industries and multiple categories of business. But I look for roles that help them give jobs and potentially provide opportunities for other people. Those are the roles that I have passion about.
Right.
And so it's come full circle for me. Professionally, and then personally, like I said to you before, is what's legacy? What's a legacy for me? Like, I'm starting to think about legacy. And so that's success for me now, right? So it's not, the next car I can purchase. It's about investments that are going to be here after I'm gone, whether it's real estate, whether it's investing in y'all and helping y'all with educational pursuits and so forth. That's what's important, and brings me some modicum of success and fulfillment. And the other piece of it is I've always wanted to compete, but I've always competed against myself.
Yeah.
And I have, again, people I've known for decades, we didn't have anything back then. But somehow all those friends that I'm talking about are presidents of this or running that or, this, that, and the other. And it's just we all had a simple, I don't know how they got there.
Just that drive.
I don't know how they got there.
Yeah.
But I know what drove me. And my trauma drove me. Right? Which is a beautiful thing that you can, have that. And so I applaud what you do because I don't know how many times I've told you, having purpose in what you do, man, it is the thing that keeps you going when you don't feel like you can go any further. And if you have that, bruh, God bless you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's And anybody who has purpose in what they're doing, I don't care what it is, positive purpose, then, bruh, I mean, that's what it's all about. That's ultimate success.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I think there's so many things that you shared right there that stuck out to me. The first was around, maybe when you were talking, it made me think about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And for those who don't know, Maslow was this older white dude who was like I think he was a psychologist of some sort, but he studied like human behavior or something similar, something in that regard. I'll Google what it actually meant. But basically he talks about there's levels to being able to have what needs you need to have met, right? So your basic physiological needs, you need to have shelter, you need to have food, you need to have water, clothing, etc. That was something that we both already had, right? Our safety needs need to be met. How do we make sure we're taking care of like our basic things in terms of like resources, employment, etc.
Well, and that that wherever you are is a safe place to be.
A safe place to be.
And if you don't have those two needs taken care of, you cannot be nice.
Not at all.
Like you can't think about someone's feelings or this person doesn't have any manners. Well, they don't have manners because they don't know where they're eating tonight, sleeping tonight, and they're concerned if someone's going to physically or emotionally harm them.
Straight survival mode.
So how can they possibly have manners?
Straight survival mode. And that's why like when we see people hurting each other, killing each other, etc., it's easy to say, what's wrong with that person?
Right.
How did that person do such a thing? That's such a terrible person to do such a thing.
Right.
But ultimately, what needs were not met and how long were those needs not met for the person to feel as if that's the right that's a symptom of a larger issue, right?
And oftentimes it's generational, man.
Yes, yeah. I mean, especially if we think about, we can go into a long conversation about in terms of being a black person, what that means historically, in terms of trauma, right?
Yeah.
However, like, ultimately, when those basic needs aren't met, you're in survival mode. But then, if you're able to get those needs met, and then you're able to go to the next stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is around like love and belonging. And for you were able, like you said, you're like, why don't my parents love me? Not having your mom and dad present, like that was a gap for you. And so like that gap, like prevented you from being able to like you overcame those things, but you had to find them in different places in order for you to be able to kind of move into a place where you were able to get all the things that you needed like met. And so one of the things that I'm grateful to have in terms of through you, through mom, through my grandparents, etc., was I was able to have that consistency of love and friendship and connection that allowed for me to be able to have a sense of like respect and a sense of confidence. And even though I had like obviously had some like lack of confidence in certain areas or whatever, but like that's where the level that I was struggling with rather than do I know that the people around me who are supposed to care for me the most love me? And so then I think that's allowed me to understand or develop a sense of purpose because I'm able to say, no matter what, I know I got people who love me. I know my needs are met. I know that I'm safe. How can I become the best version of who I can be, right? And how can I then instill that in other people? And that's what like I think kind of drives me into that hope. And so I think that was an interesting point you brought up. I want to talk about that. The second part was I do find it interesting that the people who I can call my uncles, who are your closest friends, are all very successful people, all come from very different backgrounds, all doing work in very different things, but ultimately had this drive that like ultimately led for them to be successful in who they are, or for them to achieve a certain level of excellence, right? Like success is more subjective.
And you know what? We exist in a place that we drive each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's no jealousy.
Yeah.
There's all about, if he's doing that, why can't I do something like
Everybody
that? What
eats,
I'm
right?
doing.
Yeah.
And so I love the group that we have and how we're able to interact.
Yeah, certainly. And like I'm grateful to have them as people who I can always turn to and lean on and be able to learn from like their wisdom, learn from their mistakes, etc. Because I remember, I don't even remember what time it was, but I know there was something I was going through that was tough. And you were like, hey, you should probably reach out to Uncle Steve about that, or reach out to Uncle Jay about that, or experience XYZ thing. And be able to know that there's other black men or other just men, period, that have done.
Olive Bryant's.
Uncle B,
exactly.
right,
Yeah.
Exactly. But one of the things that I think is a common thread with all those people, though, too, is we're all athletes. And I hold athletes to like a just different regard just because I know the amount of just energy and effort and time and consistency and et cetera, like this work ethic. I feel like I'm drawn to athletes. And so just curious what your thoughts are on the importance of, because athletics was something that we bonded over, and that was something that was a big part of my development and your development as well.
Yeah.
What do you think the role like being an athlete or being a student athlete puts on your life, like just long term?
Oh man, that's huge for me because I would have walked around with all this anger and hurt and whatever all my life in my formative years if I didn't have an outlet, a positive outlet. God bless my grandparents put me in sports, 3 sports, right off the bat for however long they could take it, and then me being able to positively diffuse some of the stuff, right, in the right way. I think athletics was tremendously important for me, and I still appreciate it. I don't know that has to be the only way.
Yeah.
Because I got a couple of friends who aren't necessarily athletic, but
Hate it for you.
but they are critically important to me.
Closer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Critically important, and so but I do tend to migrate towards those who have some athletic background because it's something I can relate to.
Yeah.
But I tell you, as I've gotten older, intellectual stimulation is extremely important to me. Like my friends, we can talk about everything.
Everything.
I mean, from the dumbest things
Yeah.
to hip hop, to politics, to relationships, finances, sports, everything in between, and not skip a beat. And that's what's important for me. But the drive that they have innately to do good things is that thread. And again, 30 years ago, none of us had anything, like nothing. Your Uncle B was putting money under a mattress, working at an AM radio station. Now look at him,
Man.
and
He's
so
chilling with Justin Timberlake.
yeah, I mean, just
Floyd Mayweather,
doing mad things,
crazy.
right?
Drake.
Right. Yeah. So that joke extends you with tickets though. But anyway.
Hey man, Uncle B, when you hear this, just come up off of something.
No, you ain't gonna do it without making you feel bad about yourself.
I'll take it. Hey, make me feel bad. Ain't gonna last that long.
That's what he does.
I'm chilling with Drake.
Like the money come out of his pocket. But anyway, no, but I'm saying back then we didn't have anything, and we look at each of us has done some really important or substantial things in our careers. But athletics definitely have played a part in that because it's just birds of a feather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's part of it. So
yeah, we're wrapping up on time. But was thinking, is there anything else you just want to talk about to the people? Tell the people about what's important to you.
I tell you what, man, and you not mention this, that I'm excited about, and I'm going to keep pushing you to finish this thing, is the book that you're writing. And I'm putting it out there because there should be some demand.
I need the accountability.
There needs to be somebody saying, get this thing done, because there are people out there who would find it valuable for you to share some of your experiences in a form like that. And I am absolutely excited about that, to read it, to check out the work, and to have author in the family. So that's just really cool. Yeah. So I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, I appreciate that accountability. When I said I wouldn't have told anybody about it, but I didn't want to be held accountable to it, and so it's a work in progress. When it feels right, it'll be out there. But I think one of the important things for me is, shoot, I lost my train of thought. You said something about before the book.
Athletics.
No, right after that. I'm looking at my notes.
Success. To get success.
No, it was the book.
Putting the book putting your life thoughts and feel and emotions. And
I remember what it was. My life has been a really wild one over the last 30 years. Right? Like, I feel like I've experienced a lot more than a lot of people have, and I'm really grateful for that. And I want to be able to share that with other people.
Ridden on camels.
I've ridden on camels in Cleveland. Camels in Cleveland.
You've been in a shark tank and a tank with
swam with sharks.
Yeah.
Traveled to four different continents. Became a principal before 30.
Yeah, man.
All these things none of these things were necessarily planned. I did the things that I wanted to happen.
Pedicure. That's masculine. That should be masculine for folks.
Hey, man, take care of yourself, bro.
Man, take care of your feet, man.
Take care of your feet. Take care of your feet. I need a pedicure right now. My feet are a little hood.
Summertime coming.
But at the same time, man, I think that because my life has been, I'm so fortunate to be able to have my life. I want to be able to share my life with other people, whether that's through podcasts and be able to share the conversations that I have and the people that I have with the world, whether that's the experiences that I get to share, whether that's the mistakes that I make and lessons that I learned from them. It's important for us to be able to just be real, and I want to be able to share that with the world. So at some point, Love and Liberate is going to come out. Don't know when that's going to be, when it does.
You got that patent, or it's taken.
Yeah, let me copyright that.
Yeah.
It's copywritten.
It's copywritten?
It's copywritten. Check.
Steal that.
But in closing, one, thanks for coming to the city, man. Really appreciate you being here.
Man, sure.
Would always enjoy our time. I think one of the biggest gifts that we give each other, because there ain't nothing I can buy you at this point, because you're wealthy. Because you're wealthy. You're wealthier than I am.
I'm not wealthy.
But one of the greatest gifts we have in period is time. And so grateful that I was able to sit down and talk with you. And last but not least, man, just love you.
Love you too, bro.
Long way, always. $100,000, bro.
One love.
$100,000. Reminders to the people out there: take care of yourself, most importantly. But then, last but not least, make sure you take care of your people. Until next time, peace.